Despite the worries that British cycling was going to be going downhill since the crash of Chris Froome in 2018, actually we've ended up in a scenario where we have so many great young talents coming up into the World Tour who are going to dominate racing in the next decade. So today in this video I want to point out my 10 favourite ones who I think are going to make the biggest impact in the World Tour in the next few years. Of course, some of these names you probably already know and they are already making impacts, but I want to include them anyway. And the first one is going to be Tom Pidcock. He is sort of the poster boy of the British cycling at the moment. He is probably set to make the biggest difference just because he's quite unknown in his capabilities. He's been a junior time trial champion in the past. He's been a cyclocross world champion. He's won a mountain bike gold medal. And alongside that, he's done so many fantastic road results, including winning the Amstel Gold Race, and just been very competitive in lots of other ones, including a stage win of the Tour de France this year. Of course, the thing is, we don't know what he is capable of. Could he be a GC rider in a Grand Tour, or will he be a one-day racer? We just simply don't know, which is what provides so much excitement around this rider. The second rider would be Ethan Hayter. Of course, like I said, he is somebody who is already making an impact. He's going up against the likes of Wout van Aert, and he is regularly touted as being the mini Wout van Aert because he has so many of the qualities of that great rider, including a good sprint, time trialling, and also being able to climb. And I truly believe that once Wout van Aert perhaps might start waning in his abilities, Ethan Hayter is going to be the rider who's going to be dominating that field. And alongside him, we've got a very exciting addition to the Ineos Grenadiers this year, which is his brother, Leo Hayter, who won the under-23 Giro d'Italia this year. He also won the British National Championships under-23 time trial, and he came third at the World's Under-23 time trial. So he is a really well-rounded and perhaps more GC focused of the two Hayter brothers. I'm not sure what his sprint is like, but he's clearly still good at time trialling. Perhaps he could be the new GC hope for Great Britain. And on the other end of the spectrum, we've got somebody who's very much a strong puncher and a one-day racer, and that is Sam Watson, of course, very local to where I live near Leeds. He is absolutely one of the best punchers that we're going to be having in the future, including some great results this year, which include great top 10 results at the Tour of Britain in bunch sprints, but also lots of top 10s of the Tour de l'Avenir and the under-23 Giro d'Italia. Plus he won the under-23 Gent-Wevelgem this year, so he's clearly a very strong cobbled rider as well. He's stepping up to the elite level in Groupama FDJ this year, and I can't wait to see what he is going to be capable of. Ben Turner, another one who is going to be incredibly strong on the cobbles already now, but in the next few years I expect he will be the cobbled classics leader for the Ineos Grenadiers if Pidcock doesn't go that way. And he's just been incredibly strong this year, probably one of the greatest additions to that squad this year, including 11th place at Roubaix, 4th place at Brabant-Sipel, 8th place at Dwars d'Ors Vlaanderen. And then in the Ardennes, sort of Ben Tullet, another rider for the Ineos Grenadiers. Although he didn't have a fantastic year this year, what I was surprised by Ben Tullet this year was his proficiency in time trialling, including a 6th place at the Tour of Polonia, 2 5th places at the Giro d'Italia, and a 10th place at the Itzulia Basque Country. He's clearly a very strong time trialist for his size, a bit like Evenepoel in that sense, and I think he's a very strong puncher, somebody to really light up the likes of Liège-Bastogne-Liège or La Flèche Wallonne. He could also be, I think, a really strong GC candidate for kind of week-long stage races, and I think that I'd love to see Ineos give him a bit more freedom in the coming years in that sense, rather than just being a domestique. The next rider who went head-to-head with Jonas Vingegaard at the Crow race is Oscar Onley. Of course, he won't be going into the World Tour next year. He'll be staying at the development team of DSM, which I think is probably a decent move. He'll probably be a leader at the Tour de l'Avenir next year for Great Britain, but going up against Vingegaard really put his name in the limelight as a really strong contender for a GC result in the future for Great Britain. He also showed some really strong flashes at the Tour of Britain where he was going up against Tom Pidcock on that stage which finished in Helmsley, which had lots of climbs which were about 2 kilometres in 10% length. But he's just had a series of strong GC results this year, and I think that given he's only 20 years old, he's got plenty of room to grow, so another GC potential rider there. One rider who has already established himself in some sense is Fred Wright. He's had such an outstanding year. He's done 2 Grand Tours, monuments, so he's really growing into Probably Bahrain's strongest cobbled rider, you could argue Mohoric perhaps, and of course they've lost Sonny Colbrelli now, so Fred Wright I think will be given more freedom next year as a cobbled leader for Bahrain Victorious. But some of his highlights of this year were he was second in the points classification at the Vuelta. Although he didn't win a stage there, he got many third places, a second place, and just so many top tens. It was actually quite unbelievable. He's a strong time trialist, second at the Commonwealth Games TT, 8th at the Tour de France TT on that stage 20, and a couple of top tens in the Tour as well. But his main highlight, I think, was probably the 7th place of the Ronde van Vlaanderen. That was a really surprise result and a great one for Fred. Such a good egg is Fred, and I just can't wait to see what Bahrain have in store for him in the next few years. Jake Stewart is another one kind of similar to Sam Watson. They fill a similar role in that they are both a puncher with a very fast finish, and he has had some pretty good performances as well this year. Of course, a couple of top tens at the Vuelta before he had to abandon, but he is certainly one to watch out for in the future as a one-day racer, and only 23 years old. Of course, he came second in Omloop Het Nieuwsblad in the last few years, so one to really look out for in one-day races. And then my final rider, my 10th rider, is going to be Ethan Vernon. I believe Ethan Vernon is going to be our sprinter for the future. Of course, with Cavendish towards the end of his career, I think Great Britain is really looking for another sprinter to take up the reins, and I think Ethan Vernon is probably our best shot at doing that. He got quite a good few stage wins at the Tour of Slovakia, but he was also very competitive in the Tour of Norway, and he's a very strong prologue rider as well. He's got some good results this year from that, but his main highlight of the year was that stage win at the Volta Catalunya, and I think this shows signs where he can certainly get over a couple of lumps and bumps and really contest a good sprint at the end, and I think he could be Great Britain's next hope in terms of sprinting. But that is the end of the video. Those are my 10 riders. Let me know in the comments down below which riders you're excited to see from Great Britain, and all that is left to say is to stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Salut!